Arm pump and hand cramps, the bane of every rider's existence. A plague that, much like mumble rap, should be wiped from the face of the earth. For the first few years atop a bike, I battled crippling arm pump and hand cramps, brought on by a combination of improper riding technique, poor bike setup, shoddy diet, and crappy genetics. Now, I'm the last guy you should probably take riding advice from. However, I am someone who obsesses about riding to the point I'd sacrifice baby seals to Xenu if it meant I could rid myself of this arm-swelling affliction. Luckily for baby seals everywhere, after a year or so of experimentation and research, I finally figured out how to eliminate the dreaded pump once and for all. I'm going to walk you through everything I tried that provided even a modicum of relief, starting with the easiest and cheapest tricks and tweaks. Keep in mind, not all of these fixes will work for you, but I guarantee, amongst the brain dump I'm about to give you, you'll find something that alleviates your arm pump and cramping. First, it helps to understand what causes arm pump. When we ride, especially when we ride gnarly terrain,
you never been up this one?
we put a lot of strain on our hands and forearms. This results in increased blood flow to these extremities, and if that blood can't escape your arms as fast as it's pumping into them, then you end up looking like Popeye after a can of spinach. That may help you get the bitches, but it sure as shit won't help you ride any better. If you go on the forums, you'll undoubtedly hear the same song and dance. You just need more seat time. Squeeze with the legs. Stop hanging on so tight. Stand, don't sit, dum-dum. Elbows out,
etc.
Guess what? All of that is true. But it may not be what's causing you to suffer from arm pump. For me, most of my pain came in my hands, and most of that was caused by arthritis. No amount of proper technique is going to alleviate arthritis. As I walk through these steps to eliminating arm pump and hand cramps, I recommend you tackle them one at a time. Each time you ride, try something new on this list until you figure out what works best for you. Number 1, learn proper riding technique. There are thousands of videos on this, so I'm not going to delve too deep other than to say, those on Thumper Talk will blast you for asking about arm pump and tell you to just ride better. Yeah, they're kind of onto something. Do your research, then apply it. Of course, even if you employ impeccable technique, you may still suffer from the dreaded pump. For me, I started riding later in life and was determined not to learn any bad habits. So right out of the gate, I focused on proper technique. And even when I'd stand, keep my grip light, let the bike do the work, squeeze with the legs, point my toes in, elbows out, legs bent,
etc.
My arms would still plump up like an Austrian on steroids. And they'd pump the second I hit the trail. Hell, sometimes I'd get arm pump just riding down the road. Of course, everyone told me I just needed more seat time, but I knew that wasn't it, because no one else I rode with seemed to suffer as I did, even those that rode like goons. So I did some research, and I began experimenting. Which leads me to number 2, bike setup. For now, let's talk about the stuff you can improve without spending a dime. You have to be comfortable, whether you're sitting or standing, so start by adjusting your handlebars and the triple clamps to a position where you're not reaching when seated, and when standing, you can comfortably control the bike from the attack position. Most triple clamps allow you to adjust your bars further away from you if you have long arms, or closer if you're a T-Rex like me. If you're ridiculously tall, you might want to try bar risers. I personally don't care for them, but if it makes you more comfortable atop your woods weapon, then they may be worth looking into. Next, adjust your levers so you can pull both with one finger, seated or standing, while your hands rest comfortably and naturally on the grips. You want the tops of your hands flush with the tops of your forearms best you can. If your levers are positioned too high, you'll have to break your wrist to work them. Same if they're too low. Low or high can restrict blood flow and cause your hands to ache and arms to swell. What else? How about suspension? Nearly all modern bikes allow you to adjust the rebound and compression on both your forks and rear shock on the fly. I spent a few rides dialing mine in for my weight and riding style, softening up your suspension, especially on your forks, will help alleviate some of the hit and vibrations that cause cramping and pump. So adjust those clickers until you find the perfect balance between comfort and reliability. Just be careful, as softening your forks up too much will make it much harder to skip across whoops, absorb jumps, and bounce that front wheel up through rocky sections. So play around with this, and as I said, don't try too many things at once. Just make one, maybe two changes each ride and see how it feels. Here's a change you can make that won't cost you shit. How about you start eating better? Surprisingly enough, the changes I made to my diet had just about as much impact as all the other changes I made combined. Now again, your results can and will vary, but considering most of what I'm going to recommend is free, it doesn't hurt to try it out for yourself. Note that diet changes, aside from the first one I'm going to recommend, will not help much with arm pump really. What they will help with is cramps and inflammation, which often feel just like arm pump and are equally debilitating. No more creatine. If you take supplements that have creatine monohydrate in them, stop immediately. Creatine is a common weightlifting supplement designed to make your muscles hold in water and, wait for it, pump up like balloons. This is precisely what we're trying to avoid here. We want blood and water pumping in and out of our muscles as quickly and efficiently as possible. Second, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
And that's what I call Vitality H2O.
I drink a hydration pack mixed in with half a gallon of water every morning before I ride. It's also good to drink a ton of water the night before you ride. Limiting how much alcohol you drink the day leading up to a ride is also a good idea.
You think I might call some dinosaurs? I figured I'd give them a holler.
As alcohol consumption leads to, you guessed it, dehydration. And dehydration leads to arm pump and hand cramps. Glad you're keeping up. Potassium. Potassium helps alleviate inflammation, which leads to, again, hand cramps. I eat 2 bananas every morning before I ride, along with the before-mentioned hydration mix. In fact, I eat a banana every morning regardless of whether or not I'm riding. I just kind of like bananas.
Real though, let me get that banana, please, bro. Who didn't get it to me? Give that shit to me. Hey, look over there, it's Paris Hilton. Give me that shit.
What else can you change about your diet to help alleviate the dreaded pump? How about some CBD? CBD is a miraculous drug derived from marijuana. And in case you're some kind of 1920s reefer madness fan,
marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
note that CBD has 0 intoxicating properties, so it won't affect how you ride. What it will do is help manage pain and inflammation, which is, after all, kind of what we're going for here. Last but not least, try cutting down on processed sugars.
You like sugar, huh?
Is there sugar in syrup?
Yes.
Then yes!
Again, we're trying to reduce inflammation, which can cause hand cramps. And sugar correlates directly with inflammation. So sugar bad, sugar real bad. If you can, try cutting it out of your diet completely, but at a minimum, limit how much candy and garbage you shovel into your face the days leading up to a ride. I think that's enough for this week. Next week, I'm going to dive into the changes I made in my exercise regimen, as well as what you could purchase for your bike that might help. So subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and until then, start trying these out one at a time. And remember, stay dirty, my friend.